This time on Builds, we're manufacturing an intake, installing an Axleback, and something else. What's going on, guys? Eddie here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Alright, so to bring you guys up to speed on this car is basically stock except that it has a bigger turbo in it. It's an ATP GT1752. It's not much bigger, it's a +1 size. The tuning that's in the car now is done at Torque Motorsports in Auburn, Washington, and they'll continue to be tuning the car throughout this as we put on bigger mods. So that's where the car is at right now, and that's where we're starting from. The end game for the series we're working towards: fully built engine, all associated hardware needed to support that engine, and we're going to target 350 to 400 horsepower out of this thing. So the built engine's been ready for a while, the head is finally ready as well. I actually had to push off the install just so we could do this.
I just want to give you folks an idea of how small this engine is. This is the block out of a Fiat. This is the 1.4. This thing's absolutely tiny, to the point where one human being can lift it in. Now this thing's small.
Today is basically making up for the things that I should have done when I installed the bigger turbo. We're gonna clean up my terrible intake build from when I first put the turbo in. We're gonna restore some of the noise that every Abarth should have, and we're gonna put in a little engine bay bling. Whoa, bing, bing. Due to a shipping error, Mishimoto has handed me 2 of these washer fluid reservoirs. So I've decided to give this thing away. To enter to win this thing, all you have to do is hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and leave a comment. It's probably about the same weight as the OEM one, but full it'll be lighter, and it looks a lot better in the engine bay. My car is gonna sound so much better. I've been sitting on these parts for probably 2 months. All right, you guys have waited long enough. Car porn, work on car, go.
I'm running out of time, every day goes by so fast, and every moment counts, baby, I don't wanna miss a thing. We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, or hang out in hotel bars, driving somewhere in your car. We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, under the stars.
First thing we're gonna do is get this OEM intake out of here. I had just adapted the OEM intake using a 45-degree silicon coupler. It worked, but the intake necks down to a tiny 1.75 inches. If you take a look in here, you have a rough idea how small that is. Don't need that anymore. We're gonna delete this hose while making the new intake. This is just routing some blown off air back into the intake, does not throw any check engine lights, and is completely unnecessary. So in order to take this off, we're just gonna pinch that band, release it, and pull this off. Part 1 deleted. Alright. Next up, this is a solenoid that actuates the forge blow-off valve. We're gonna have to move this because a larger intake is going to hit on here. The forge blow-off valve kit for the Fiat 500 or the Fiat 124 is a fantastic tool when you're upgrading to a larger turbo. The included solenoid allows you to hook up any blow-off valve you would like to your aftermarket turbo, while retaining the original ECU control. Alright, so I'm using a 2 1/4 to 2 3/4 45-degree reducer off the turbo. And then we're using a 2 3/4 inch flex coupler off of the airbox. So it looks like I don't need to cut any of the silicon to make this work. It looks like they actually line up really well on their own. What we're gonna have to do is chop a section of this pipe to fit into this space, just to join these 2 silicon couplers together. And then we're gonna have to open up an area in the silicon
to adapt this hard line, which is for the positive crankcase ventilation. You could, in theory, put a breather filter here and bypass this altogether. The only problem is on this car, there is a sensor that attaches onto this pipe that reads what's happening. And if you put a breather filter here, you will get a check engine. Now, it won't impact how the car runs, but if you don't like lights on your dashboard, it's probably a bad idea. Anyhow, let's avoid check engine lights. You need to deburr the pipe on an intake because the last thing you want is metal shavings going into the turbo or your engine. The areas around where the hose connects in, and we can still see the imprint of where the hose attaches. So we're going to cut a hole here for the hose to go in. We're going to start by making it a little too small and incrementally work our way up to make sure we have a nice seal. So we're going to lube it up a little bit just to get it to pop on nicely.
Now that all the components from the intake are ready, we can start piecing it together. I'm using P2M billet aluminum clamps from Phase 2 Motor Trend. These clamps are fantastic. They look amazing and they seal the hoses really well. The only downside is they can be a little difficult to fit initially. And they make the one worm drive gear that you have to use because you forgot to order the other clamp look mildly ridiculous, but oh well.
It's mocked up in place. This is what the intake will essentially look like. So now we just need to route the forge blow-off valve solenoid to somewhere workable, and then we'll be able to do the washer fluid reservoir. We have lines running to the blow-off valve, lines running back to the brake booster. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So to pull this thing out, there are two 10 mils holding it in place, and then we have a couple lines that are attached to it from the outside. So we're going to start by pulling out the 10 mils. We're going to release the washer fluid line that is attached on the side down there. It's probably too hard to see. Your washer fluid line gets clipped into that hole. There we go. All right, this hard line attaches to the side. So we'll need to release that. There's a wiring harness that connects the pump on the front towards the passenger side. Gotta release that clip somehow. All right. Now, it's important to get the clip out on its own. You don't want to pull the whole pump or you're going to be dumping washer fluid all into your engine bay. There we go.
Next up, we have to pull the sensor that detects your washer fluid level. We won't be using this with the Mishimoto kit. Due to the size of the tank, there's nowhere for it to plug in. The only side effect this has is your fluid light will no longer light up on the dashboard. Once we've drained all the fluid, we remove the pump and the fitting from the OEM reservoir and put them into the Mishimoto. Now we're going to take the supplied piece of rubber and push it over the pinch weld. Once that's done, we'll grab our zip tie and tie off the one unused sensor. Now we can refit the washer fluid supply line and the harness to the pump. After that's done, now we can put the reservoir right where we want it and put in the bolt. After that's done, throw in a funnel and fill it up. And here's our finished work. It looks so much better under here now. Having that big chunk of plastic disappear and having a much cleaner looking intake system, it looks a lot better. So now it's time to jack up the car. We're using a hockey puck on the top of the jack with a section cut out. This ensures that we don't do any damage to the underside of the car while we're lifting it.
All right, so we're gonna start by dropping these two nuts, and we're going to release the hangers on either side of this muffler.
Now all that's left is to release the hangers. There's 2 on either side that need to be loosened. If the hangers are stiff, use some WD-40 to loosen them up.
All right, so you'll need to remove the exhaust hangers and hold on to those. There are 4 of them in total. Don't worry about mixing them up, they're all the same. All right, so this is gonna be replaced. With this.
The Auto Ricambi Axleback is a fantastic option if you want to get a little more sound back into your North American Abarth. The twin pipe exhaust is resonated on either side by a small resonator to keep the rasp down. This lets you have that Abarth growl without your neighbors trying to kill you. It doesn't take long to get the thing back in. Start by putting the hangers back in place, and then fasten the back 2 bolts. And that's it, you're done.
It actually sounds like a sports car, that's fantastic.
The car sounds so much better. It sounds a bit more ridiculous now, and that's the thing that's been missing from so many Abarth for so long. Ridiculous. You hear that? Fiat, Abarth, give us some ridiculous back. Don't make us do it. Well, it is kind of fun doing it. We're still working on this thing, so if you guys have any ideas, anything you want to see on this car, should it be a staggered stance car? Should we go square stance? Tell us what you want us to do to this thing. Thanks for watching, folks. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. Hopefully we'll have a fast car when this is all done. Good Lord.